Welcome. I'm the director at Vital Chi, and we thought as part of this particular new stage in our COVID-19 lockdown, that might be really useful for people just to have a bit of a chat around things just in general that could help them through the process or help you through the process. And this will be really a general chat. Obviously, we may get to a point where if you're asking really specific questions or very detailed questions, we might gently just say, look, for your best interest and make sure that we give you good advice, we may suggest we take that offline and we'll offer a 15-minute chat around that topic for you, and that may might help you enough. We may lead you to say, look, I need a full health exam, or if or do something with us. You may already be obviously clients with us, so you may already have a program in place. But we'll, and I'll leave that really to Alon, Lena, and Shiho to make that call. But obviously the offer's there if we need to go in a bit more detail. But I think we can have a really good chat around this, and so we'll do that. What we'll try and do as we work here, I'll give Alon, Lena, Shiho, a bit of intro around who they are, what their background is, what they do, and what they specialise in. And look, let's have a really open conversation in terms of if you want to unmute yourselves and just have a general chat. We'll do it more as a panel discussion, and I think that'll be great. If you've got a burning question, don't really want to ask it directly, feel free to either just private message me and I'll look at the chat line as we come through, and just do it that way. There were no real burning questions that came through the Eventbrite process, so we'll just take it as it is. If this goes for half an hour and everybody's happy, that's great. If it goes for the full hour, then that's awesome as well. So really leave it really open to all of you guys, just to really get as much as you want out of this through your interactions, and guide us a little bit in the conversation, so that we can be as much help as we possibly can. So what I might do is I might hand off to Shiho, and just to give us a couple of minutes about her, and then we'll go around the rounds, and then we'll open it up for your questions.
Beautiful, thank you. I'm Shiho. I'm a naturopath, and also, I guess, almost like I was a massage therapist at Vital Chi. Good to see familiar faces. Hey, David. Haven't been able to give you a massage in a very long time. So I'm a naturopath specialising, especially my passion lies in women's reproductive health, including preconception, pregnancy, and everything in between. And my passion also is lifestyle medicine, so not just supplements and herbs, but everything surrounding that, and also food is medicine. So hopefully we can give you some tips that works for us and what worked for our clients. And yes, I'm very looking forward to this hour spending with you all. Thank you.
Should I go?
Yep, Alon, go for it.
Yeah, so my name's Alon. I'm a naturopath. I'm also a personal trainer. And yeah, I guess my passion, and I think what brought me into the industry, is that kind of what Shiho said. I really like diet and lifestyle interventions and working with people to change their diet and lifestyle habits, so that they can basically be the best version of themselves. I really believe that a lot of the chronic health issues that are so prevalent in our society today, and that often come and present to the clinic, are due to or exacerbated by inconsistencies around people's diet and lifestyle habits. So working together with people to help change those habits and empowering people to make changes, so that they, I guess, don't have to be dependent on a health practitioner, is probably my biggest passion around naturopathy. I do have an interest in things like weight loss, gut health, also female hormones and stuff like that. But yeah, I think what it really comes down to is whatever comes into the clinic normally, I really try to focus on helping people to change their diet and lifestyle so that they can take control of their health and be healthy and decrease their symptoms. Yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Lena, would you like to give us an intro?
Hi guys, I'm sorry about my light, it's a bit odd. I'm Lena. I'm a naturopath and nutritionist and have been in clinical practice for many years. I very much come from the same ethos that Shiho and Alon come from. I'm really passionate about balanced lifestyles, really focusing on the fundamentals in relation to lifestyle, health, diet, relaxation, all of those things. And in clinical practice, I'm really interested in gut health, thyroid and hormonal health, endocrine health, stress-related conditions, insomnia, fatigue. They're probably the areas that I focus in the most. And really, I'm really pleased that we're all together today, because in light of where things are at the moment, I think it's really important that we come together and, you know, we can support you guys in this sort of forum. If you need more support, absolutely one-on-one, but at least to give you an opportunity to check in, have a chat, let us know what's happening. If you've got questions, we can give you some guidance around some ideas that we have, and come together and support each other. So that's me.
Have you got your phone? Yeah. Marie would like you to ring her.
Awesome. Yeah, so how's everybody feeling about I guess the kickoff question might be, how's everyone feeling around stage 4 and I guess generally around, you know, things that they have noticed in the last week that might have been a bit different to what it was back in April or March?
Yep.
So Trudy, how have you found it?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in as long as I'm not cutting across Vera.
No,
Hello, everyone.
Whoops. Hello. Oh God, I'm doing a Zoom.
You might want to, perfect.
Okay, I think you're good, Trudy.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Sorry, I'm having trouble with this. I can't see anyone, but I've got a little screen just says done speaking and ready to speak. Anyway, we'll just keep going with it. Thank you.
Okay, that's
I'm
right.
here.
Awesome, lovely. Trudy just was going to talk to us about how she was feeling about the last week or so.
Sure. First of all, I'm just really grateful for this opportunity. I think Vital Chi does all sorts of things that go above and beyond, and this is a great example of it, so thank you very much. I spend quite a bit of time with Madeline, but also really keen to get to know some of the other practitioners as well. The things that I'm conscious of, because I just feel that stage 4 is so different, and my normal resilience or things that I think I can hold quite well in balance have just been uber challenged in the last 10 days. And some of that's work reasons, some of it's contending with family reasons. But the kind of curiosity I had particularly today was I'm interested in maybe different ways we need to think about food, because I'm finding it very hard to eat well, which I think is not so much about that I don't have lots of good fruit and veg in the house. It's just that I snack differently, I use food in different ways, and I'm really struggling to have a sense that I'm in control of that. So those kind of how we think about food issues, I'd love to hear the panel talk about a bit. And the second thing is a sense of balance around how we relax, because I used to be very good at that, and I'm finding that the more extended isolation is, and it's quite depressing for me because I work in international development with a charity, so what's happening outside of Australia is just horrendous, let alone what's happening to us here. So that sense of techniques around rethinking relaxation when all the things you're normally used to helping you with that are different or are gone. I'm finding it really hard to switch off.
Okay. Can I just ask a question? So you said, how we use food and that you use food differently.
Yeah.
Now you can not answer this, that's fine if you want to, but made me wonder, how are you using food differently to what you normally do?
I'm eating more, I'm snacking more, and some of my snacking choices are just to revive me or make me feel good for a second. And it doesn't mean I'm only eating chocolate. I just mean that that some of the disciplines or instincts around my choice are not there. And there's a lot of pressure from family who want to snack and not necessarily making good choices either. And my home office now, I've lost my dining room table. My home office is my dining room, and the fridge is a metre away, so it's no good.
Yeah, it can be a challenge, isn't it?
Yep.
Before we dive into that, I might just do a little bit more just around the grounds and just say, well, David, how are you finding it?
I've actually improved my eating since it's been in lockdown. When it all started, I was very suspicious about what was going on, so I did a bit of research into it, find out what viruses are, what causes them, decided to cut out as many toxins as I can so that I don't produce any viruses. And so I've gone to more organic type foods and less processed foods. So I think I've been eating healthier. Instead of snacking on biscuits and things, I'll grab a piece of fruit or that sort of thing now. So in that way, the eating has been better. And I've actually found that eating more nutritionally, I don't get as hungry as well. So obviously the quality of the food is better, and therefore your hunger is satiated a lot easier.
Yeah, that's really interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. And welcome to a couple of new people, Astari and Karen. I see you on the line. I see somebody's on the phone, but I don't know who that is. I can't see the name.
That's me, I think, Vera.
Oh, Vera, you've joined on phone. Great, awesome.
I thought you didn't want to see my pretty face.
I don't know, what's your choice? We're all good. We're all like, it's one of those things around being able to see everybody. We don't get to see many people anymore, so it's good to see different people. Lena and those guys are sick of seeing me on Zoom. Emily, what's coming up for you?
Lunch. Hello. I think I'm finding my diet is a bit of a mixture of David and Trudy's. I think I made some muffins here. I'm currently snacking on one of those, but I'm finding in some ways not being at my actual school, I'm eating a bit healthier because there's not everyone bringing in morning tea. And I'm trying to have more hot lunches and do some of the tips that She-Ho gave me in our appointment. But I also find it a bit tricky as well because suddenly the day is gone and it's, later in the day and I haven't eaten a lot or, just trying to get that balance of not overeating, but then making sure I'm eating enough. But I think my biggest thing in the last 10 days is the not being able to go outside as much. We rent a one bed apartment that's kind of attached to my parent-in-law's house. So I'm actually in my husband's dad's office at the moment. So we only have our apartment and not really a lot of space. We live near a trail, which I like getting out on, but it was easier to go in the morning and after work previously, whereas now we can only really go once a day. So that's I'm finding that a little bit trickier. Just trying to get enough exercise in. So I'm trying to do a bit of yoga as well, but then I think just being disciplined to actually do that. And I know I'm getting up, instead of getting up at 6:15, I'm getting up at 7 or 7:15 now, which previously in lockdown, I was still getting up and early and getting going early because I could go for a walk. But so I think that's my main thing at the moment.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. So we'll go around to everyone else at some point, but I know Lena or Alon Shiho, did you want to pick up any of those topics and think about?
Sure. I think the biggest thing is that everyone's experiencing things differently, and we all have different challenges at home, whether it's family and kids, or living in a small apartment, or so I think it's it's challenging for everyone in different perspectives or different ways, and I think building a structure around what works for us as individuals is really, really key. I think my biggest thing with clients is to be compassionate with yourselves first and foremost, because this is a really challenging time. It's unprecedented, and so we're going to have those times where we're in a really good space and other times where it becomes more of a challenge. But Trudy, in relation to your question around diet particularly, and some of the challenges that you're experiencing, I think a lot of people have experienced those to some degree, without a doubt. Some of us more than others at different times. And there's definitely some good points that I can make around creating a bit of structure, and that can really help us to sort of work around treats and, having the core of our diet being quite consistent and healthy, but also building in those treats, to give us that little internal hug when we're sort of feeling a bit blue or down, because it can get overwhelming at times. And particularly, I can imagine if you're in the, NGO space and working with charities, some of the stuff you'd see would be pretty extreme, I'm sure. So, what I'd suggest, and around, shopping, and this works differently for everybody. Some people really like to be really organized. And when you're doing your groceries, coming home and maybe creating a bit of a weekly meal plan could be a good idea, where you have a bit of a framework that helps with, giving you some structure around, okay, brekkie, lunch and dinner each day. You could build in snacks. This doesn't have to be set in stone, but if you've got a bit of a framework, it just means that our brains will sort of go to that when we're fishing around looking for something, rather than opening the cupboard and finding, the chocolate that's screaming, eat me, when we're really hungry and we need a sugar fix. We're actually going to, oh yeah, I've got those healthy treats that I bought. Yep, I'll grab one of those. Or, doing some baking, having some nice muffins, Emily, some healthy muffins that we've made, or, I've just made some cookies actually, to be honest, for this exact reason. So, having a bit of structure, I think, is a good thing for all of us, particularly around COVID, where we're in lockdown stage 4. The usual day-to-day things that we have in our lives are restricted. And it's easy to be out of routine. It's easy to work all the time. It's easy to stay up late at night and sleep in. But creating a bit of a framework that, is reasonably close to the way that we lived beforehand, or the routine sleep, wake cycles, exercise, I think is a really healthy thing for all of us, just to help keep us grounded in these times. Alon or Shiho, I'm sure you'll have.
I think what you were just saying with that routine, Lena, is really important. I've been saying that to people, even some of the teenagers that I've been seeing as clients, just also like getting dressed in the clothes that you go to work in and things like that, and creating some kind of normality in your life. But going back to the diet stuff too, I feel like though the principles of some of the things that I talk with clients don't really change. So 3 things that I've got to add, which maybe, you could take, Trudy, and just based on what you said, that firstly, it's about trying to eat foods that are really satiating, I think is a big one. And that still never changes, whether we weren't in COVID or not. A lot of workplaces have like unhealthy snacks available anyway, and that's often sometimes a tough point for some of my clients that I see. But so eating like, protein and vegetables and whole foods that are going to make you feel really satiated. So the foundation of your meal being a good source of protein, a good source of vegetables that is going to make you feel satiated. It's going to stabilize your blood sugar levels throughout the day, so you won't get those afternoon dips. So that's one thing. Now, I know that also living in a family unit, this can be difficult, but creating your house as a safe place, you know, especially now with these lockdowns where there's like there's a curfew basically. I've always said to people, if you don't stop those processed foods in your house, then you need to build up that energy to be bothered to go outside and go get it. And normally that's a deterrent, because I don't know about you, but I don't think in any household a packet of chips or chocolate has ever gone off. Like fruit bowl, like, you know, if some mandarin goes moldy, you get some chocolate, you know, everyone's smashing it. So I think the key with that is that if the processed food is there, the temptation is too high, and there's nothing to feel guilty about that. It's just human nature. When you feel a bit snacky and your blood sugar levels go down, you're going to tend for those more processed, energy-dense foods. But if they're not available and you're making sure that the foundation of your diet is whole foods that are making you feel satiated, then you're less likely to like crave those foods. And also if they're not present, then you won't think about them. And like I said, whether or not we were in COVID or not, those principles still stand. I always talk to people about creating like their home environment as a safe place. And I know that can be difficult sometimes with kids, other family members and stuff like that. But I think that's like really, really important, trying to minimize those temptations, because, you know, I think even the most strict, like people who have like the most self-control would struggle with those things, especially if you're feeling hungry and it's right in reach. So I think those are two things that you should probably focus on. And then the last thing also, that is just that idea of an 80-20 rule, that, you know, as long as the foundation of your diet is good whole foods 80% of the time, in the context of a healthy diet, some processed foods are not bad for you. And the context in which you consume them is also really important. So there's a big difference between, you know, getting Uber Eats because you ran out of time and you get some processed food and you ran out of time to cook your meal. And, you know, you're rushed and you're stressed and you're trying to get this like calorie dense food to kind of like sit with your emotions or your stress levels. That's very different to maybe getting to a Saturday night and trying to create some kind of normality in your life where you sit down with your family and you order Uber Eats, and it's with social connection, because we know that food is often a vehicle for social connection, and especially in these times, it's really important. So it's also the context in which we consume these foods is really, really important, that you're not opting for those processed foods to, you know, cope with emotions or anything like that. It's there because it's part of social connection. That's I think those are three things that I think I would focus on at this time.
Yeah.
And Shiho.
Yeah, I was going to say, Shiho, it'd be great, because I know that this is kind of great area for you. Some of the things that I heard in that, when I think Trudy and Emily and David were talking, was very much around that stress and relaxation and management. And maybe that'd be great, you know.
Yes.
Bring some thoughts to that.
Definitely. That was something, because I think Lena and Lon covered the basics and lots about the diet. And what I'm finding with clients at the moment is the quality of the food, but like Alon said, the environment or how they're actually eating those foods. So when you're busy, just off the Zoom meeting, of course you'll be rushing. You're not even settling, sitting. We're still shallow breathing, and we just scoff our foods. And for example, some nurse clients that I'm working with, she'll always have gastrointestinal issues when she's at work, because she's only have 20 minutes to eat. So she's at home, sitting, relaxing with her partner, no gastrointestinal issues at all. So I think also creating that pause in each action throughout the day, because it seems like everything's kind of squished at the moment in this lockdown. Even when you finish work, you just close the laptop, but then you're not commuting, or, you know, for some clients, they're happy that they're not commuting, but it was actually the time for them to have a downtime and separate themselves from work and home. So those are actually very close together at the moment. So even if it's just walking around the house, or just taking 5 breaths, or having a cup of tea, or whatever that is for you, to make those little spaces in between throughout the day would maybe make a difference to your choices. And very simple, but, you know, sit down eating just for eating, because I'm sure we're all, you know, eating while we're having the Zoom meeting or while we're doing something, and we're not just eating for the sake of eating. And very simple, just chewing your foods. you'll be surprised how many times you're chewing your foods. So even just mindfully chewing the foods each bite for maybe 30 times, and really tasting your foods and smelling your foods and feeling your foods, because we forget, well, how did your breakfast smell like? How did it feel like? We probably don't remember. So bringing all those senses might tie into really satiating those foods, so really savoring those each bite might make you feel more full and help you to make different choices.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, that's great. I think it is a bit of a rushed experience sometimes, I think, working from home. And my wife's a executive at an ASX company, and her life has just been miserable, to be honest. I think she's just worked 7, still, I mean, also part of a New York business, so 7 to 7 might actually be quite light on for some periods of time. And some of you may have got similar experiences, and you're right, it's very hard to switch off because your laptop is so very close, and it's it's lots going on in some of those. Well, if you're a small business or a large business, there's a lot going on at the moment, so it's hard to switch off. So there's some new people coming in, so welcome. We're just doing a little bit of it around the ground. So we had spoken with David, Trudy and Emily and just got some feedback from them. Astari, maybe if you would like to just, so, how are you experiencing the current stage 4 and what's coming up for you in that experience that we kind of add into the conversation?
It's really tough for me. Like, I think I can pick up from Shiho as well when she's saying like there's no blur between when you finish your work and to your house or a personal life. Because for me, I'm just turning around, walk behind my back, and I'm at the kitchen. I'm cooking dinner straight away. And I kind of like go into that phase lately, especially in the last 3 weeks. I forgot having a small breaks after my work and just go straight to my personal life, which is now, come to think of it, all during the day, it's kind of like seem a little bit of a blur. Like I started late, finishing late, and then it's just snowballed. And in terms of food taking, what Lena said is true. So in our household, I'm living with my housemate. So we kind of like setting up a menu for next week when, so we can just like basically know what we're going to eat, as well as preparing our budgets and everything else. And it kind of helps in a way to know that, yes, we're not going to buy chocolate, or yes, we're going to buy that dips, but let's make a different choice of dips that we're going to buy, or even like butter or spread, and just that small things. And because we are 3 different people, it's sometimes we have to try to negotiate. And then because I always say, hey, this is healthier, I know this is healthier, so it's easier for me to say like, okay, let's buy this because it's has more goodness in it rather than processed food or other stuff. But then it made us cook more because we ate less processed food. And then we've been doing this for a couple of months now, and we kind of like feel better in a way because our food choice now has gone a bit better than before, because we kind of like think beforehand what we want to buy or what we want to eat. In that way, we kind of like good, but in the sense also that we lost motivations because I feel that when you are in a good space of mind and head, you kind of like able to make that choices. But when you're in a stressful situation, you kind of like forget to take care about yourself. And that's the only thing that I'm not lacking, but I'm just falling behind lately, because all of this after stage 4, everything went so restricted. And even though there's nothing really changed for me in day to day, but I just felt more restricted. And then there's a lot of thoughts going on to like family and friends. So yes, it was tough.
Yeah, I think that's
Thank
true
you.
for a lot of people. No, that's great. Thank you for sharing. And I suspect that's a lot for a lot of people, just being, feeling like this is a big extra burden, and being disconnected from family is a really tough one. I think Lena brought up before just being kind to ourselves around food, but I think it's probably in all aspects being kind to ourselves is an important one. Yeah. Yeah, Karen, is there anything that you would like to kind of add, or want to kind of raise as a question?
Yeah, I just find, I guess, being home, it's very hard. I find everything merges into one, if you know what I mean. So trying to balance work with the family responsibilities, and food is obviously constant for kids. They want constant food throughout the day. So I find myself multitasking a lot, trying to do everything at once, and I kind of do it on autopilot. So I guess I'm finding it's hard. I need to learn to slow down and not do so much at once. And I guess I'm looking for tips on how to juggle or balance that a little bit better.
Yeah, okay, all right. Well, I might throw that open to our guys, because it sounds like between Starry and Karen, there's a little bit of that, well, I've lost a bit of motivation, and then, how do I balance some of that multitasking and kind of demands on my time? I'll leave that to you guys to address. Well, I don't know who wants to deal with that one first.
I'm going to mention a couple of things that I know I've spoken to clients about and I've found has worked for me, and certainly for some of my clients also. I agree, life has always been busy and we're always trying to do a million things at once, and this can just have magnified it to a degree for some of us. I think the biggest thing is really structuring in time out, not only sort of exercise time or time with the family or to cook or work, etc., but also just to have a bit of time out where you've got some time as an individual to unwind, particularly in the case of families, but even as individuals, or whether we're sharing with our partners, flatmates, etc. We can find that everything just rolls into one, whether it's work, we can be working, 10, 15 hours a day, what have you, late into the evening, etc., etc. I think really trying to structure in, like I said, I really feel that structure can help, whether it's scheduling in, some exercise in the morning, or, planning to sort of have a set day, whether it's around the kids and their school times or around your work time, or maybe even just having some time out in the evening after the kids go to bed and unwinding, having some time with your partner or doing something that you enjoy, whether it's a hobby or, some meditation, yoga, whatever it is that you enjoy. But factoring that in too, I think, is key. Having those anchoring points around the structure can really help us to feel more grounded and feel like we have a bit more sort of control around this crazy time that we're in. They're just a few things that I've found that have helped. Alon or Shiho?
Yeah, I think, you touched on all those things. Also, I think maybe I'm just also biased towards this, and talking about that time out for yourself is, I know it's hard, but like exercise, I just think that that's such a big thing. Yeah, and it's not just like that setting aside formal exercise, it's just constant movement throughout the day. If you do find yourself sitting around a lot, scheduling a timer, and also the same principles apply if you were working in an office job somewhere, when you weren't at home. Every half hour, you're getting up, you're setting a time and you're getting up and doing 5 minutes of walking, body weight squats, some push-ups, anything to get like blood flowing. Because I don't know, I just think also mentally, just sitting down, being in the same place all the time, where like you were saying, like, it's home, it's work, it's all in the same place. You can't help but feel a bit like congested and stagnant. I don't really know how to express that, but I think just really prioritizing time to exercise, and that's time for like you, can be a huge thing. And whatever that is, however way you can get it into your day, and you can go from like really simple stuff to just going for a walk, or you could even, you know, start looking at what kind of exercise regime you can implement that has a bit more structure. It's going to get your heart rate up, you're going to get a sweat on. Yeah, I think all the things that you're saying, Lena, are very valid. And yeah, I think maybe because I'm biased towards it, I can't help but think about exercise. Yeah.
Can I just add something? Sorry, just on that point. One thing I think we're all really sedentary because, you know, we're going from, I get up in the morning, I go from my bedroom to the kitchen, make myself breakfast, I go into my office, you know, unless I make a point of going out for exercise or scheduling it in or whatever, I'll be lucky to do 500 steps a day. So that definitely contributes to that sense of stagnation, and it can definitely affect mental health too. So I agree, Alan, I think it's critical to have that in. It might be dancing around the house with the kids, you know, it might be putting on a song, having a bit of dance time, bit of downtime, whatever works. It doesn't necessarily have to be structured. If that works for you, great. But just keep that in mind too. I think it's important for all of us.
Yes, I might jump in, and I totally agree with Lena and Lon with, you know, physical movement, very important, but also it comes to the point that how Lena was saying, to be kind to yourself towards foods. But I think that applies to what we do in our day-to-day lives, because I guess being a mother and working, I'm sure your to-do list is forever increasing. Being at home, you know, you finish work and then you look at something and that's, oh, that's another thing to do, another thing to do. And so just to be kind to yourself that maybe it is impossible to tick all those to-do lists. And if I prioritize, you know, having a good food, going out for a walk once a day, feeding the kids, that's the priority. That's all. I've done well, and everything is a bonus. So rather than, oh, I haven't done enough kind of feeling, to really bring, yeah, I've done enough. And I'm, you know, we're all struggling in some ways, but we're doing our best. So maybe in that mindset, you might be able to see things a little bit in a more gentle eyes.
And I think that the things that you're saying the word enough quite a lot. And there's this constant theme of us talking about being kinder to yourself. And I can't help but think of, I don't know if anyone here has read or listened to any of Brene Brown's TED Talks, or, you know, and she talks a lot about scarcity culture, and especially around motherhood and or parenting, and never feeling enough. That we're just never good enough, and unless we get X, Y, and Z, or do X, Y, and Z, then we will be enough. But obviously we know that end destination never comes. And I think, yeah, changing our mindset into a way where it's like, you know, you are enough, and you're not here to be perfect or be right. You're just here to try and get things right and try and do your best. And that principle can be applied in every aspect, towards your diet and lifestyle, towards your work, towards your family. You know, she talks about wholehearted people, realizing that you are enough who as you are. That doesn't mean that you can't have self-growth, but with all your faults and all of your positive things too, you are enough as a person. And then once you feel like that, then you start engaging in your life in a bit more of a healthier way, instead of using guilt and all that type of stuff to drive. And I wouldn't even say guilt, because guilt can sometimes be a healthy way to drive things. It's more shame, you know, like I'm not enough because I'm not, you know, doing this with my kids, or, you know, I got snappy at them, you know, like it's all part and parcel of it. And I don't think we can get hung up on the mistakes that we made if we eat processed food or whatever. Like I think it comes back to your mindset.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think that's a good point around just maybe not trying to make our goals, or the things we're going to change, too big or too many of them at one time. If we're going to make a few changes, then we'll make just one or two and see how that goes, and embed it as a habit, as opposed to trying to say, well, we're going to make massive difference. Now, I'm conscious there's 15 minutes left, and it's been great to have the conversation. I'm just going to ask, is there anyone who's got a burning question or thing that they want to raise so that we can deal with that? I'm happy to take Anyone?
Hello.
Hello, Vera.
Hi, Jack. Hi, everyone. I'm living in the country and with my husband, and we're both retired. I've actually found this shutdown quite beneficial. It's given me more time to think about myself, how we're eating, and to relax and not be uptight as much as I used to be. One thing Alon, you're right about enough. I honestly believe that if I keep saying to myself, I am enough, it helps me be more positive. And positivity is something that I think helps everyone. But what I've been doing is having a shake in the morning with chia seeds, curcumin, flax seeds, a bit of yogurt, pepper. And I'm just wondering, I believe it's helped me a lot. But is that a good mix of vitamins or is things to have to keep my body at the best it can be?
I'll answer, Vera. I'm sure Shiho and Alon will jump in as well. Ultimately, the most important thing is that for breakfast that you're feeling like it is a substantial brekkie and that you're satiated. Going back to what Alon was saying earlier, you know, it's all about the balance in regards to our diet and feeling like if that's a good start of the day for you and you've got a good amount of protein, that's certainly important. That we have adequate protein in our meals, particularly for breakfast as well. Shakes are something that, you know, they work for some people more than others, and particularly considering that it's winter and it's quite cold. We always talk about the energetics of food and making sure that there's some warming spices in something like a shake if it's something you really enjoy. So you've got your curcumin or your turmeric, perhaps adding something like ginger could be beneficial. You might want to add a little bit more protein, and it might even be, you could use a protein powder or you could just use
I have breakfast as well.
You do? Well. Okay. Oh, so you have a breakfast also?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Great. So you're mindful of that as well. Look, ultimately, yes. I think if you're enjoying it.
Yeah, usually porridge.
Great. And it's substantial. You know, like I said, in combination with your porridge, you're mindful of the protein component there and your other meals are balanced through the day. I think that's absolutely the most important thing from my perspective. Alon, Shiho, do you have any?
And Vera, I've got something to add. So I think also, like Lena was saying, like protein is really important, but I think just thinking about, and for every meal, you should probably just try and think of this, is trying to get your macronutrients in. And then by doing that, by default, you start getting all those micronutrients in, like your vitamins and minerals. So if you sit down to breakfast and maybe you are having a shake combined with some oats, or you just want to have a shake, try and think of your main macronutrients, which is your protein, your carbohydrates, and your fats. And then also normally, like it's not technically a macronutrient, but we put vegetables in there. And you could make a smoothie, a balanced meal if you really wanted to, with those warming things that Lena talked about. So, you know, you could use a protein powder as your protein source. You could have your carbohydrates being some kind of fruit. You could have like a frozen fruit of your choice. You could have a fat source being, you know, something like a nut butter or chia seed,
coconut oil, usually.
Coconut oil or avocado or something like that.
Yep.
And then for your vegetables, putting in some like spinach or kale or some kind of leafy greens. And then in terms of herbs and spices, you could put in things like cinnamon even, which is a warming herb and it's a good digestive aid. And then chucking some water or, you know, milk alternative, or like an oat milk or almond milk, whatever. But that doesn't necessarily have to be like that, because maybe you don't have the protein powder and you have everything else, and then you have some eggs, some cooked eggs with some vegetables on the side. So just being conscious, and that could be a really warming meal with that colder smoothie meal. So just as long as you're approaching every meal and thinking about your macronutrients, so like where's my protein, where's my vegetables, where's my carbs, where's my fats, and once you understand what your macronutrients are, then you can build a balanced meal from that is both, you know, nutritious and also warming for winter. So it doesn't necessarily have to be an all-in-one smoothie. Like I said, you could have eggs on the side, or your oats. you know, with some kind of a yogurt or something. That could be your carbohydrates, you know, with a fat. It just depends how you mix and match it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have much to add now. They covered it all. But I think, like you said, the most important thing, Vera, is that you're actually feeling good by eating those food, which is fantastic. And if it works for you, then keep doing it. And also, I guess, eating with seasons. So now you're having all those warming foods, and it might change during summer, adding more greens if you like to. But yeah, I think it sounds great using food as medicine.
Thank you.
Awesome. And I would say, for people looking for recipes or anything like that, there are a bunch of them sitting on the Vital Chi website, but also if you look on Facebook and Instagram, there's quite a lot of stuff that's coming from basically our practitioners and some of their favourite things that they question or felt that they hadn't quite covered what they had addressed earlier.
I guess just in terms of exercise, are there any other things that you would suggest? Yeah, I mean, like I was saying before, I've just been trying to get out for a run or do a bit of yoga, but I think it's just building. I was writing down like the routine again at home because, yeah, I think this time is really tricky with the restraints, and then I end up feeling a bit more lazy. Yeah, so I guess just any tips on that?
Yeah, I can interject there also. I've been also struggling with that because of the gyms closing and stuff. But I think also getting a good, like doing some walking, some yoga, something like stretching, mobility, something like also meditative as well is great. Getting some cardio through your running. And then if you can try and get some kind of, I know it's hard with, you know, out having weights and stuff, but trying to do some kind of body weight strength training exercise would be great. And there's always like principles around that as well. So try and think of doing a full body workout where you do some kind of like hip hinge. So you're doing like a squat pattern where it's, you know, you're sitting into a squat. So you're hip hinging with your hips, or you could do glute bridges, something that you're using a hip hinge. And that's your like main lift. And then you want to be doing some kind of pushing exercise and some kind of pulling exercise. So a push exercise is something like a push up, or if you have dumbbells, it's like a dumbbell push. And then anything pulling could also be like some kind of modified pull up if you could, or using bands to do some rows or something like that. And then having to do some kind of core work. And then once you've done that, you've done something for your upper body with the push and the pull, so your back and your front. You've got in some kind of lower body with that hip hinge, and then you're also working on your core. And if you want to take that a little bit step further, you can do a single leg movement, so like kind of like a lunge variation or a split squat. And then on top of that, if you want to do like a carry, but normally just think of like a lower body hip hinge, core, and a push and a pull. You're kind of ticking all of those boxes in terms of working all the major muscle groups, which is going to have, you know, of course, some kind of health benefit. And then just think about every session, write yourself like a little program. So maybe an example program would be like body weight squats at a certain amount of reps and a certain amount of sets. You decide what your push and your pull is, and then you decide what your core is. And then whatever you set that is, there's this idea of progressive overload. So the way that your body adapts and gets fitter or stronger is if you increase the difficulty of an exercise next time. So whether you go up on the amount of sets that you do, or you go up on the amount of reps, or if you're having weights, you go up on your weight. It's every session, whatever you're doing in that session before, you should kind of build on that, because that's what leads to muscle adaptation. Same with like cardio. Like if you ran 5Ks every day, you would never be able to then go run a marathon, because your body just gets used to that. But to get to running a marathon, you've got to start off like at 5Ks and then slowly build up, because you've got to build that cardiovascular fitness. And that's through this principle of progressive overload, which interestingly, fun fact, I was reading the other day, started apparently back in like the Roman or Greek times, supposedly, where a guy carried up his little lamb every day up like a hill. And obviously, as he was carrying it, the lamb got bigger and grew, and he was able to do it every single time, because as the lamb was growing, he was also, progressively overloading with that lamb because the weight was getting heavy. Yeah, so even though he was walking the same distance, the lamb was getting bigger. So that was a fun fact that I thought was quite interesting.
Get a puppy, have a baby, and exercise with them.
Yeah, that's actually great. So if you don't have any, use your kids, get your kids to stand in like a plank, do some bench press, do some squats with them. Easy.
Yeah, I'll do that with my puppy.
Yeah.
Just on that point, I'm just going to mention, for me, I know scheduling in online, like live Zoom, whether it's yoga classes, Pilates, there's all sorts of different types of fitness classes, can really help with the routine for me, because I find that if it's scheduled in, then I need to do it. Otherwise, if I'm left to my own devices, something might come up, blah, blah, blah. So that might be something else that can work for you. Even meeting a friend out or what have you might mean that, socially distance, of course, and only for an hour, but it helps, I guess, that commitment aspect, but also, the social aspect, the connection aspect, all of that. So that's a few other things that I've spoken to some clients about, and that works for me too. And I think, Alon, we might need a webinar where you're giving us some good detailed info around that, because I loved it, but I've all gone.
Maybe we could do, if it was wanted, I don't know. I've been running some Zoom sessions at the gym that I work at, which kind of cover those principles. I've always got like some kind of squat variation, a push and a pull and a core. So maybe if there was a demand for it at Vital Chi, we could schedule in some Zoom exercise sessions. Yeah.
Certainly do that. Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure what's working for me. So I go for a walk maybe for 45 minutes in the morning, just so that I'm getting the fresh air and getting the sunlight. But also there's this 4 minutes exercises. So it's short, but it's like 5 different types of movement, moving all the big muscle group. And I kind of made it into the schedule. Every time I eat a meal, I do about 4 minutes intense exercise. Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's just because I think sometimes it's hard to make that, big commitment, but if it's in small chunks, then if it comes with other routines, it's kind of easier to make it into your day-to-day routine. And also after I see my clients more than 3 in a row, then I'll go walk around the house. So those gym sessions, I think alone will be great, but also making those small ones counts too. Just getting that oxygen flow throughout the body is fascinating, the mental clarity. And then if you do it with meal, then you don't have that energy drop after those big meals.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll send you the link to the exercise.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thanks very much. So that was good conversation as well on exercise. I know that did come up early. Now we will do another session in a couple of weeks or a week's time. So there's a few topics that may come up. We did last time, we did some mindfulness sessions. We'll definitely do one of those again. And Sophie is one of the people that really helped with that last time, and it's her area of expertise. Thanks for joining us today. We are on the 1:30, so I want to make sure that we do finish on time. Really appreciate you being part of this and for sharing. Really appreciate Alon, Lena and Shiho for their contribution today and having a chat with us. That's awesome. And I hope you really got some good value out of today. And if you've got any other questions, feel free to shoot them through to us. Or ideas for...
Thank you.
Yeah.
Morning, Jack. It's Digby here. How you going? Just quick call to say hello, or more of a message really, and just to remind you to take that first step today, whatever it is for your practice. So whether it's getting some more pink sheets done or making a few calls about the energy stuff to the guys at PwC, whatever your priority is, I think just do the first thing today. And also update your dashboard. So what are your targets for the quarter going to be? Share anything you want with me too. Any pink sheets you want me to have a look at, a green sheet, anything. So just, mate, I'm here. So love to hear how you're tracking. Belinda will be in touch soon just about setting up another call for us as well. All right, mate, have a great day and we'll talk to you. See ya.